Hey everybody, Suzanne here with Caregiver Haven. So, welcome to the webinar on strengthening your relationships with your aging parents or your aging spouse. And whether you've had a loving bond or a strained one, this stage of life brings new emotions. It brings grief, frustration, and even resentment. This is perfectly normal. It's common to feel torn between wanting to care for your parents and struggling with unresolved feelings from the past. In this webinar, we're going to explore ways to navigate your emotions, set healthy boundaries, and heal past hurts. We'll also discuss how to move from resentment to acceptance and create a more peaceful relationship with your parent or spouse. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. By the end, you'll have practical strategies to overcome guilt, grief, and anger while ensuring your own well being. So, let's begin this journey of healing together. Understanding your emotions about your aging parents or even your spouse. As parents age or a spouse ages, we experience a flood of emotions. Some of us feel grief watching them decline. Others feel resentment, especially if we've had a difficult relationship in the past. And then there's fear of their growing dependence, financial burdens, or unresolved conflicts. The key to managing these emotions is acknowledging them rather than suppressing them. You may feel sadness today, frustration tomorrow, and love the next day. That's okay. That's perfectly normal. Instead of judging yourself, recognize that these feelings are normal. Journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or working with a therapist can help you process them. And the more you understand your emotions, the less power they have over you. In writing down your emotions, this is going to help you gain clarity and prevent the resentment. It's also important that unprocessed emotions can lead to stress and strained relationships. So let's recognize that right from the start. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the past and any mistakes we have in there. It means freeing yourself from carrying the weight of resentment. Many of us hold on to childhood wounds, marriage wounds, feeling unseen, unloved, or unappreciated. But as our parents age, we have a choice: hold on to the past or choose peace. Forgiveness is for you. It's about lightening your emotional load. One powerful exercise is writing a letter to your parents or spouse. Even if you never send it, express your feelings, the anger, disappointment, or gratitude, whatever comes up. Then imagine releasing those emotions. This doesn't mean that your parents or spouse were perfect. It means you no longer let their past mistakes define your happiness. Forgiveness is an act of self care, not something you do for them. And it's important to understand that holding on to resentment is going to prevent healing and peace. Aging brings loss, and loss of mobility, loss of memory, and loss of independence. But it's not just your parents who grieve. You grieve too. The strong, independent parents or spouse you once knew are changing. Maybe they no longer offer the guidance they once did. Maybe they need more than you ever imagined. This grief is real and valid, and it's okay to feel sadness, frustration, and even anger. The key is allowing yourself to mourn. You are going to remember as a child how your mother reacted to you. You're going to remember those moments when your mom took time to show you something and help you with something. You're going to remember those times. They're gone, but the memories are still there. So talk about it, write about it, acknowledge that this transition is hard. And at the same time, shift your focus to what remains. Maybe your parents or your spouse's wisdom is still there, even if their body is weaker. Maybe they can't remember everything, but they still smile when they see you. Find ways to cherish what is left and focus on the connection over perfection. Meet them where they are today. It's important to remember that grief is an unseen but very real part of caregiving for everybody who goes through this. One of the hardest realities to face is that we cannot stop time. Aging parents or spouses won't regain their youth, and past hurts may never fully be resolved. So, acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting your energy toward what you can control, your attitude, responses, and ability to cherish the present. Instead of resisting, try to focus on what remains meaningful. If a parent can no longer offer advice, perhaps their presence alone is still a source of comfort. If they were never emotionally available, you can still choose to create peace in your own heart. Acceptance allows you to focus on what is rather than what you wish was different. So replace why this is happening with how can I make the best of this moment? It's important because resisting reality only creates frustration and emotional exhaustion. You can't change the past. Childhood experiences shape how we view our parents, and marriage experience shapes how we view our spouse. If you grew up feeling neglected, criticized, or unsupported, or caught in a marriage with those things, those wounds can resurface as these folks age. You may feel anger, sadness, or even resentment that now you are expected to take care of them. These feelings are valid, but don't have to define your present. Healing begins with acknowledgement. Write down your past grievances. Then ask yourself, do I want to carry this burden forever? And consider therapy or journaling or even honest conversation with that person or a friend. But never let a relationship drag you down. Not every relationship is going to be fully repaired, but you can choose how much power the past pain is going to hold over you. Forgiveness doesn't mean justifying their actions. It means freeing yourself from their control. Your past does not have to dictate your future relationships with your parents or anyone else. You own that power and only you. And unresolved childhood pain is going to affect caregiving and emotional health. So let's overcome it. Boundaries are crucial in maintaining a healthy relationship with aging parents, aging spouses, or anyone. Without them, caregiving can become overwhelming, leading to burnout and resentment. And setting clear boundaries helps you provide support while maintaining your own well being. Start by identifying your emotional and physical limits. It's okay to say no. Establish a routine that prioritizes both your needs and your loved one's needs. Communicate these boundaries clearly and stick to them. For example, set specific time for calls or for visits to avoid feeling constantly on edge. Something like, oh, I got to go see mom today, or oh, I got to go visit dad today. No, set a date, the day of the week that you're going to go visit, and let them know that's the day you will be there. Boundaries are not about pushing parents or spouses away, but about maintaining mutual respect and preventing emotional exhaustion. And saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you respect your own well being, and everybody will respect you for that too. So, lack of boundaries is going to lead to stress, guilt, and strained relationships. Put those boundaries, put those time slots, put that schedule in place today. Well, many adult children also experience guilt when they feel they aren't doing enough for their aging parents. And guilt often stems from expectations, whether personal, societal, or family based. However, caregiving and support should come from a place of compassion, not obligation. Compassion means doing what you can without sacrificing your own well being. So it does not come from a place of obligation, only compassion. So accept that you're human, you have limits, and that overextending yourself does not serve you well as the rest of your family. So replace the guilt driven thoughts like, I should be doing more, with compassionate ones like, I am doing my best and that is enough. And doing your best is always enough, especially if you're not neglect, if you're especially if you're not neglecting those other folks in your life. So instead of focusing on what you haven't done, focus on love and care that you do provide, no matter how small. Compassion creates a healthier, more sustainable dynamic relationship with your parents and or your spouse. And shift from I have to, but I choose to. Start saying I have to instead of I choose to in your caregiving role so you can regain the control you need in caregiving. So, how do you think about the relationships with your parents or your spouse shapes how you experience it? And if you constantly think this is unfair, I have to take care of them, you feel burdened. But shifting your perspective from that can change everything. So instead of framing caregiving as a burden, try viewing it as an opportunity, a chance to express love, to grow, or to learn patience. And trust me, in so many members who have gone on now to regroup their lives after their loved one has passed has said, what a golden opportunity I had. Looking back on it, they saw opportunity. They did not see obligation. They did not see a burden. They saw a wonderful time they shared with the person who is no longer here. So saying things like, they never appreciated me, reframe it as maybe they showed love in ways I didn't recognize. This isn't about ignoring challenges. It's not about, it's la la land. But choosing a mindset that serves you rather than drains you is going to be so much better for you. Knowing that all these emotions that you're going through are normal. All caregivers experience them. It's everything from grief to obligation to burden to anger to frustration to exhaustion. All of that comes into play with caregiving, but so does opportunity, so does setting boundaries, so does feeling joyful that you have those moments with that person. So reframing doesn't erase difficulties, but it shifts the focus from resentment to empowerment. So find at least one positive thing in a situation, in each situation, and give a shift into your entire outlook. And talking about aging, end of life plans, or unresolved issues with your parents or your spouse is going to be tough, especially if you have siblings. These conversations are going to trigger defensiveness and sadness and even denial. And the key is approach, timing, and tone. You have to have those three things. You start with empathy. You, instead of saying you need to take better care of yourself, try, I love you and I want to make sure you're okay. Avoid blame. Instead of you never listen to me, say, I feel unheard when we talk about important issues. Use the I word instead of the you. Pick the right moment. Don't do it before everybody's going to bed. Don't do it before a big and joyful event or even a sad event. Pick a moment when you're going to have time to have these heavy talks and be able to emotionally ingest them soon thereafter. So listen actively and be patient. If discussions become too tense, step back and try again later. This goal is process or is a progress. It's not perfection. Again, this is a long journey. This is not a short-term fixes. This is, you're in for the long game here. So use the sandwich method when you're talking to them about difficult situations or things you want to get across. Start with a positive, address the issue, and then end with another positive. You've got to maintain that open communication. And if you do nothing but plant that seed, let it grow. Just let it grow. Let them think about it, mull it over, and approach you with it later on. And if you or your parents or spouse have been estranged for years, reconnecting is going to feel daunting. And the past may hold pain, misunderstanding, or resentment. But healing is possible with small, tiny, intentional steps. Begin with a simple outreach, maybe a letter, a call, a text, or even a shared memory. Keep the expectations realistic. Know where you are today. Know what hasn't happened in years. Relationships are not going to heal overnight. If communication is strained, therapy or mediation may help navigate difficult conversations. And the mediation can be between siblings, helping one another, or an aunt, an uncle, or even a grandfather or grandmother. The key is forgiveness and openness. Even if a full reconciliation isn't possible, finding peace within the relationship, whether from distance or through renewed connection, is going to bring relief. Without demanding an apology, you can reconnect. So focus on moving forward. This is especially important if your loved one has ghosted you with no explanation. You've got to let that go. Caring for aging parents while managing your own life is going to feel overwhelming. It's essential to find balance that allows you to care for them without neglecting yourself. Create a structured routine to allocate time for caregiving, work, and personal needs. And you're going to delegate where possible. For with siblings, professional caregivers, or community services, they can all help. Setting boundaries ensures that caregivers remain sustainable. Self care is not selfish, as I've said, it's necessary. It is critical in caregiving. Taking times for hobbies and enjoying them, socializing and laughing, and simply resting prevents burnout and makes you a much more present caregiver. Schedule your own breaks just as you schedule care tasks. Your well being matters too. If you overextend yourself, it's going to lead to resentment and exhaustion. Some of you are already there, so you know the cause. You overextended yourself. Balance is going to keep relationships healthy. One of the biggest challenges in caregiving for aging parents is accepting what you cannot change. They may refuse help, resist advice, or continue habits that concern you or drive you crazy. Instead of trying to control them, shift into influencing with compassion. Use open-ended questions. Would you feel safer with a grab bar in the bathroom, in the shower, or by the door? Instead of you need help or you need to install one. Give them choices instead of directives. Focus on safety and quality of life, but recognize that they still have autonomy. One of the greatest conversations I ever had was with a member of the Department of Family Services. And she said, Suzanne, you have to understand that if these people want to live homelessly on the streets, in a tent, with nothing and not knowing where their next meal is coming from, as long as they are not hurting anyone and they can be warm in the winter and cool in the summer, they have a right to live there. That is their autonomy. So let go of expectations doesn't mean you're neglecting them. It means you're respecting their independence while offering support. And ask yourself from time to time, is this battle worth the stress? Some things you just have to let go. Your relationship with your parents are going to evolve, as well as your relationship with your spouse. Instead of dwelling on past conflicts, you're going to focus on creating new, joyful experiences together. Simple activities like watching a favorite movie, cooking together, or sharing stories are going to build meaningful relationships, meaningful moments together. Small gestures like a handwritten note, holding his hand, or an afternoon stroll can strengthen bonds. Document these memories through pictures or a journal. Find humor in daily life and celebrate what is still possible rather than mourning what has changed. Focus on what you can do together now rather than what's been lost. You will find so much more energy and so much more lightness in your days when you focus on who is there still in front of you and the opportunity to build a happy, joyful moment with them, even if it's reaching out and touching their shoulder. When multiple siblings are involved in caregiving, disagreements are going to arise. They normally do. It's about the responsibilities, the finances, and the decision making. And this again means open communication and fairness are key to preventing this resentment. Have a family meeting to discuss the expectations and divide the tasks based on the strengths. Not everyone can be a financial person. Not everyone can be a caregiver. Not everyone can be hands on. Some people don't have the emotional support and they can't do it in that realm. So avoid placing blame, assume positive intent. When conflicts arise, keep the focus on what's best for your parent rather than the personal grievances. Mediation or counseling is going to help if the tensions get too high. The point here is that not everybody can do what you do. So you can't expect them to. They can only do what they can do, and that's enough. Just like you tell yourself, I can only do what I can do, and that's good enough. They have their limits too. And maybe they have their boundaries too, which leads to respect for all. Caring for aging parents or spouses are going to become overwhelming. And sometimes the best way to support is to seek professional assistance, whether it's hiring in home care, consulting a financial advisor, which you can do without your parent or your spouse. You can consult with a financial advisor and get everything you need in place, or exploring assisted living options. Then maybe you can't provide the care that they need anymore. Or maybe you need the physician to talk to them because they'll listen to them, but not you. Extra help is necessary and ensures that your patient or your parents and spouse receive the care they need. So look for signs such as increasing forgetfulness, trouble managing daily tasks, or declining mobility. If you find yourself constantly exhausted or struggling to balance responsibilities, it's time to explore these outside resources. You should not be exhausted. You should not be struggling with balance in your life. That is not what caregiving is about. So seeking help doesn't mean you failed. It means you're ensuring the best quality of life for both your senior and yourself. It's a proactive approach. It prevents last minute crises. It's research based, all for preparation so no emergencies arise. Helping agent seniors is a natural part of life, but enabling them can create dependency and prevent them from maintaining independence. It's important to find the balance between offering assistance and allowing them to do what they can still do. Do not do it for them. They may become angry at you. They may ghost you. If your parents can handle certain tasks, encourage them to do so rather than stepping in automatically. If they have to have certain assistant aids to help them, then so be it. But if they can still climb stairs safely, let them do it. If they lose it, if they lose it, use it. If they don't use it, they will lose it. So you want to keep your loved one as active as possible. And if they rely on you for everything, even when they are capable, it's time to reassess your approach. Ask yourself, am I making things easier for them or am I making them dependent on me? And is this the life I want? Are you wanting them to become dependent on you at the expense of your own life? Is this something you support? Many adult children struggle with lingering disappointments from childhood. There's no doubt about it. There are difficult family dynamics. There are unmet expectations. There's emotional neglect. All of this comes up in caregiving when you're caring for a parent. However, holding on to resentment, prevents healing, and makes caregiving more difficult. There are just as many difficulties in marriage, and a lot of these can come up, including the difficult family dynamics, the emotional neglect, and the unmet expectations. So, acceptance doesn't mean dismissing past pain. That's not how you can get rid of it, but rather acknowledging it and choosing to move forward. You know what? That's the past. I'm moving on. I don't hold those resentments. It was what it was. And I understand that parents and spouses are all human beings, and everybody has their own struggles and their own limitations. They may not have been perfect, but focusing on the present allows room for new positive interactions. You have to let bygones be bygones. By shifting your perspective, you're going to release emotional weight that keeps you stuck in this resentment. Journal it if you need to. And again, focus on what you can control. The only thing you can control is your time and your mindset. How do you choose to interact with these folks now? Caregiving is going to be emotionally draining. No doubt about this. Everybody gets exhausted at one point during their caregiving journey, if not multiple times. But laughter is a powerful antidote to stress. Humor allows you to navigate difficult moments with levity, making tough days a little easier. When was the last time you laughed? When was the last time your senior and you laughed? Or you looked at each other and you laughed at what your adult kids say nowadays? Or maybe your parents are laughing with you at moments that they remember. Whether it's a shared joke or a lighthearted memory or laughter at the absurdity of the situation, it's going to help maintain a sense of normalcy. Don't be afraid to enjoy these moments. They provide relief and strengthen your bond with your parents or your spouse. Embrace humor as a coping mechanism and share it with your loved one. Laugh. Find things to laugh at. Don't turn on the news because you're not going to laugh at that. Find a happy movie, a comedy movie, find a joyful movie, find a love story, find something that makes you feel good. Enjoy those things and share them with the person you're caring for. Look for the small moments of joy every day. Appreciate that you've got running water, that you've got heat, that you've got a roof over your head, that you've got a car that's going to start, that you can find your keys, that you have air conditioning in the summer, that you have a beautiful park you can go to, you have a safe city. Enjoy. Think of all the things that you enjoy, that you have gratitude for, that you feel good about, your own health. There are so many blessings in your life. And you look at those blessings and you start counting them. And once you start, you can't stop because they're just overwhelming. There are so many great things in your life. So humor eases stress, strengthens relationships, and is going to improve your emotional status. And it's common for aging seniors to resist help even when they need it. They're going to say this. They're going to look at you and go, darling, I don't need that. You're so sweet to think of that, but thank you very much. They're going to be stubborn. They're going to say no. They fear losing their independence, period. Bottom line. They fear losing their independence. They feel guilty. They feel embarrassed. They're guilty that you're worried about them. They believe that they can manage on their own. They don't want you to help them. They don't know why you're concerned. Understand their perspective. And this is key to overcoming resistance with empathy. Instead of demanding changes, offer gentle encouragement. Frame questions like for their benefits. Like, I know you want to stay independent, and the safety feature will help you do that. Give them choices rather than making decisions for them. Involving them in the process fosters cooperation rather than resistance. So don't go at them with, you need, you have to, you got to have this. I'm going to buy this for you. I'm going to do this for you. No, no, no. Say, I know you want your independence. I know you want to stay healthy. I know you want to do this. And because of that, I'm offering this. And tell them what you're going to do for them. And then practicing self-care. So we talk about this a lot in Caregiver Haven because caring for any senior is going to be physically, emotionally, and mentally draining and demanding. And without self care, caregivers are often going to experience the burnout, anxiety, and exhaustion. And we all know what that feels like. So, taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's got to be an essential part of caregiving for both you and your senior. So, set aside, as I've said before, the dedicated time for, I don't care if it's relaxation, I don't care if it's a movie, a comedy, a play, a show, a walk in the park, a boat ride, a bike ride, a shopping, any hobbies you have, social, and go on social interactions. When your friend calls you and say we're getting together, you say yes. Just be a yes person. Yes, I'm going. Yes, I'm going. Yes, I'm going. Seek support of groups or therapy if you need to. Groups are amazing because they're going to tell you how to get the help you need. There are so many different avenues out in your community to seek help. It doesn't have to be expensive, that people know about, but you'll never know about unless you go to those panel sessions or you go to those groups, those support groups, because the real information doesn't happen as the panel is talking. The real information happens when the people in the group start sharing what they know about the community resources, how they got money, how they got free this and free that. That's where you're going to really get a lot of help. So remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. You've heard that 1,000 times. I want you to feel full every day. I want you to get up every day in a joyful mood and say, hot dog, I've got this covered. I know what I can do and what I can't do. And you know what? I can do, I've got it all in place. You are the leader of this team, this caregiving team, and you can do this. You can organize and you can keep everybody going, and you can replace everybody, and you have backups. It's everything we talk about in Caregiver Haven. So schedule self-care like an appointment. Make it non-negotiable. A healthier caregiver is going to provide better care and maintain emotional well-being. It's absolutely true. Guilt is common in caregiving. We've talked about this, and you may regret past arguments, a time lost, or feeling that you're not doing enough. We're all guilty of saying something we wish we could take back, but self forgiveness is crucial to maintaining healthy relationships. We can say we're sorry. We're sorry 1,000 times. I know the guilt doesn't go away then, but I want you to think about something. If you were talking to a friend and the friend told you that exact story of something they did or said or didn't do and wish they had, what advice would you give them? That's the advice you need to give yourself. That's the advice you need to give yourself. You would probably tell them they got to let it go. They got to forgive themselves. They can say they're sorry to that person. They're doing enough. Hear your words that you would tell a friend. So befriend yourself and tell yourself these great things. Don't dwell on it anymore. Apologize if you need to, but just don't dwell on the things you can't change. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer any good friend. And discussing end of life wishes with your parents or your spouse. We've talked about this. It's going to be difficult, but asking questions like, how would you like us to handle blah, blah, blah? How would you like this done? How would you like this done? What most matters to you in later years? And this is something that if you don't feel comfortable with, talk to a family doctor about, talk to your loved one's doctor about it, bring it up in front of them. They hear the compassion. They are patient. They understand these discussions. They are hard, but they know how to direct you. So it prevents future stress and uncertainty. Make sure these choices are in place of how your senior wants to pass, your doctor understands, and those choices are carried out. So be in front of somebody when you're talking about these if you don't feel that you can talk about them on your own. And one other thing is we don't start grieving just at the loss. Grieving starts well before the loss. There are so many losses, well before the passing, I should say. There are so many losses ahead of time, the anticipatory grief, the sadness that comes before the loved one even passes, is very real and very valid. So, watching a parent or a spouse decline brings emotional pain and grief, but understanding that it is grief is going to help you navigate through it. Acknowledge your feelings rather than suppressing them, knowing that these losses are slipping more and more every day. You're seeing another loss, another loss, another loss. Spend meaningful time with your senior, making the most of the moment. And grieving before loss allows for a deeper connection. It really does when you recognize this person is not going to be with you forever. So, helping you say what needs to be said and cherish those shared times together. Express the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation while your spouse or your parent are still here. It will help you process so much grief later on. You will never end up saying, I wish I had told them, da da da. You don't have to say that. Start your grieving process today and recognize it's very real. And regardless of past conflicts or challenges, the time with your aging parent is limited, it's precious, and make every effort to present and be present rather, and listen and create meaningful moments together. And instead of focusing on what's slipping away, embrace what remains. Just each moment together is such an opportunity for love and connection. Shift your mindset from regret to the gratitude that I was talking about. Savor each moment as it comes because you're going to be blessed that you did this after they've passed. And it's easy to focus on the challenges, but shifting this whole mindset, this perspective is going to make a significant difference. So, instead of dwelling on the frustrations, look at the positive aspects and your ability to help and what you can do and all you can do. And all you can do is enough. Start a gratitude journal about all the blessings in your life, including your senior, and how much they meant to you and mean to you. Get out old photos of the pictures, the family pictures, and the laughter that you had at one time together. Even if the relationship is difficult now, this is going to change your mindset. And then while caregiving is going to be overwhelming and lead to the stress, anxiety, and exhaustion, recognize some of the triggers. What makes it exhausting? What time of the day? What day of the week? When is it most exhausting? And those may be times that you need to get out and do the exercise, the walk, the sleep, the social time, or mental health support. Whatever it takes, those hours where you can't handle it. Maybe you can't handle taking them to the doctor. Why are you doing that? Have somebody else take them to the doctor. Don't hesitate to ask for help in those avenues. The triggers that are causing you to be stressed need to be dealt with, and somebody else has to take over that emotional stress just as much as somebody would have to take over if you couldn't physically lift your spouse or parent off the floor. You'd need to call 911 to get somebody to come in and do that for you. So make sure you recognize your triggers in stress. And then regret, we all have it. We don't want to have it after they pass. It's a common emotion. So whether you're wishing you had more patience or done more, handled things differently, you don't have to worry about that when you take care of yourself and you schedule your own time to do things. Dwelling on the past is not going to make any difference. Focusing on what you have now will. So change that motivation. Get up there. Do the things you want. Don't set unrealistic expectations. Feel the journey. Yes, it has its ups and downs, but every effort you make is incredibly valuable. So turn your regrets into lessons. Use them to improve rather than to punish yourself. And then find that support I talked about in those groups. They are a wealth of information for you. And I promise you, you will never be sorry when you go to a panel, a discussion, a caregiver support group. Every time you go, you're going to be blessed. You're going to learn so much about the resources and so much about where to get the things you need. It is amazing to find out that you are not alone, that everybody has the feelings you have, and everyone has broken relationships, and everybody is trying to heal relationships as they go. So, no matter the past struggles, your caregiving journey is an opportunity for growth, connection, and love. Accept that no relationship is perfect because they aren't, and that doing your best is just enough. And instead of focusing on what's beyond your control, you're going to embrace what you can do with kindness. You're going to be present. You're going to create meaningful moments. Caregiving is a gift, and it allows you to honor that person you love in their final years. So let go of the guilt, embrace love, and find peace in your journey. And we'll talk soon. Take care. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye bye.